And I'm like, but I'm not the same mom that I was
No.
at 19 that I am at almost 49, and I shouldn't be.
30 years of experience
Yeah,
in there.
and initially, I had none.
Yeah.
I had not been with my own mom since I was like 8 or 9. I never wanted anybody to violate my girls, even when it comes to what they're wearing, and they don't understand now, but I know that one day that they will. So yeah, I didn't want people looking at you because I didn't want you to give them a reason to lust after you or to touch you. Really and truly and honestly, I probably had a place in my heart that wasn't healed. I know I did. Even when I first got married, having intercourse with my husband was hard because this was something that had been taken my entire life by people who really didn't love me or who didn't know how to love me. And I finally had this man who loved me. So I felt like, why do you want this too?
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you too.
And it's my first one.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so excited to have you on today. So this conversation obviously is going to be a little bit different because we talked about it beforehand, but I really wanted this to be a healing conversation for mothers and daughters. You ready?
I'm ready.
So I saw a picture, and I'm going to read it first. And it says, "You may want to forgive your parents for raising you through their own unresolved trauma, not being able to understand you because they did not have the capacity to, not being able to teach you certain skills as nobody taught them, being emotionally unavailable as their parents were emotionally unavailable, doing the best they could with what they knew and had, following cultural norms that they were surrounded with, raising you through their own struggles, worries, pains, and fears." So for me, I think I saw that and I'm at a much better place than I was when I was younger. I feel like our relationship has definitely gotten so much better, and I'm so grateful for that. And I don't think it was me just getting pregnant, having a baby. I remember being about 26 and it slapped me in the face. And I was like, I am a hot mess. I could not imagine raising a kid right now and having to figure out who I am and teach somebody else who they are at the same time. And you had me when you were 19.
19 years old.
Yeah. You were 19, very young, trying to figure out who you were, trying to navigate through life, trying to provide, trying to do the best with what you had when all the odds were against you. So, first, thank you. Yeah. It was in that moment that I realized, like, yeah, this is my mama is the GOAT because I couldn't do it. If I had a kid at 19, they would be traumatized probably for the rest of their lives because I couldn't have did it. I don't know that I could have been as strong as I saw you be during that time. So I guess I kind of want to start when you got pregnant with me at 19. What were like some of your initial thoughts? What was going through your mind in that during that time?
Whew. I was afraid.
Yeah.
I was afraid to tell my family. I remember when I told my dad that I was pregnant at 19. He was ready to drive to San Antonio to come get me and take me to the abortion clinic. And I told him, you may as well save your gas because I'm not going. I was afraid, but, I was happy, because I was going to have a baby. As women, we're kind of trained to be mothers from children, from playing with dolls and playing house and all those things. So, although I was afraid, I knew that I did not want to get rid of my baby.
We appreciate you.
And so I remember the day that I told your father that I was pregnant. It was the very day that I found out that he was married. So then I was faced with, even more decisions. I had to make the decision to either give my rights to you away.
Because you were in the military.
Because I was in the military. And that was one of the things that I would have had to give my rights to you away or to get out. So I made the decision to get out.
Because at that time, I remember you saying you were actually about to get stationed in Germany.
Yes, I was headed to Germany. That was where my first duty station was going to be.
Yeah.
Kind of ironic because that was my dad's first duty station after I was born. So they say the first language I spoke was German. So that's where I was as a baby.
And it's where the Lord ended up sending me in college in an exchange program, even though I was taking Spanish.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was a no-brainer for me because I wasn't giving my rights away.
Yeah.
So I made the decision to get out. I left, and I went to Chicago. I hadn't lived with my mom in years, since I was like 9, I think. And I went to Chicago where my mom was, and because pride wouldn't let me go back home to Granny.
Now, Granny is, just for the people that don't know,
she is my grandmother. She raised me. She's my father's mom. And she raised me from 4th grade until I graduated, and then, even after.
So you said pride wouldn't let you go back.
Well, we had a really big fight the last time I had came to visit from home. I was visiting while I was in the military, and I stayed out too late. My grandmother's rule was you don't come into my house after midnight. I had to be home at 11:59. She says that it's the next day, and nobody was coming in her house the next day. So she rolled her hair from the time I left every time till I came back. It took her 2.5, 3 hours sometimes to roll her hair, but she wasn't finished rolling that last curl until I was in the house. And so I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning. That time I came home to visit, and we got into a big argument. And I told her I was grown and I was gone. So, they say you shouldn't burn bridges, but I had burned that bridge.
Yeah. But y'all were able to later on heal that.
Yes, after I went to Chicago, that was not the life for me. They were shooting. There were drugs everywhere. It was not a good neighborhood. Honestly, there was not even always electricity in the house. There wasn't always running water in the house, and I wasn't used to that. Now, we wasn't rich at Granny's house, but we had everything we needed.
Yeah.
And I knew that wasn't the environment that I wanted to raise a child in. So I called Granny, and I apologized for the statement that I made, and I asked her, could I come home? And she said, you could always come home.
That's good. So you went back to Philadelphia. And then what happened?
I'm 19. I'm pregnant. I went back to Philadelphia. I worked 2 jobs. I worked 3 jobs while I was pregnant. I worked at Pizza Hut. I worked at Sonic. And I was a substitute teacher. And I did all of that while I was pregnant until you were born. And I saved all my money so I was able to buy my first car.
And then we went to USM.
Yeah, we went to USM. You were the USM baby.
Okay. So you said that you weren't giving your rights away. Was it that you just didn't trust anybody to help you with me, or you just wanted to raise me yourself?
Well, I didn't grow up with my mom. And I knew what that did to me. So because that was hard, I knew I didn't want to do that to my child. So I said I was going to do it myself. And my grandmother ensured that. Yeah. Although she took me on, she would not let me do that. She would not get up in the middle of the night with you. If you were crying and she heard you crying, she was like, you hear that baby, don't make me have to get up, because if she got up, I was finna get knocked out. You know,
Being grown.
being grown, like that's
Finna
your
get knocked
baby.
out, yeah.
She said you're gonna take care of that baby.
Yeah.
I had friends who, had babies that were young. Some were younger than me, and their moms, kept their babies while they went to college. That was never an option. Granny didn't even say that that was an option. So even if I wanted to go down that road, she wouldn't have let me. She made me be a mom.
Yeah. And let me make it clear. My granny loved me. Okay. She did. She used to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and fix me a bowl of ice cream if I asked her to.
Oh yeah, she was spoiled. She spoiled you all. She
Yeah.
spoiled all of us.
Yeah. Not you.
Oh yeah, she did spoil me too.
She spoiled you too.
Mm-hmm.
All I heard was the stories of you getting beat from the
Oh,
neighbor
no.
house to her house.
Oh yeah, I know. She wore my butt out. I still believe
Yeah.
in whoopings.
Okay.
I am that parent. I believe in whoopings. Now I may not have always done it the right way,
Yeah.
but I believe that there is a right way, even according to the Word of God.
Yeah.
That if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. And may have taken it out of context or too far, but I do believe in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I got a couple of beatings now.
But this is what she would always say. Mm-hmm. You got some you deserved, some you didn't deserve. And the ones that you didn't deserve made up for the ones you should have got that you didn't get.
I still think I had a couple extras. Yeah. Now I don't know. Listen. I don't know if we gon' whoop. We ain't decided yet. We got to see how she turned out. My husband didn't need no whoopings though. I think his mom said he got one. That was all he needed. So maybe she just gonna need one, and that's it.
Every child, I don't believe every child needs it.
Yeah.
But you do have to know the temperament of your children.
Yeah.
When it says spare the rod, spoil the child, not meaning spoil like, they get everything they want. When you see children doing things like having temper tantrums and their behavior, is uncontrollable, that's a different thing. And sometimes if you don't nip it in the bud when they're young, you suffer. And the Bible says when they get older, you'll suffer for it.
We just gonna hope she got her daddy temperament then, because I think I was a little bad.
I was bad.
Okay,
And
so
you were bad. Yes,
I got it
you
from
were bad. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got it from you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I remember a couple of instances where, let's just say I didn't get whoopings, I got beat. Okay, and now I think we're at a healthy place where we can laugh, joke about it, and do all of those things. But at the time, it was really hard for me to accept. And I think that's why I used to grow up and be like, I'll never with my kids. I'm never doing this. My kids ain't never going to have to do a chore in their life. I'm going to clean the whole house. I know better now, okay? She's 6 months old. She going to be doing some chores, okay? She going to learn some responsibilities.
You're going to be singing the Barney song, clean up,
Correct.
everybody, everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. We going to...
Everybody do their share.
Gracie's Corner, she got a version of the cleanup song. So we're definitely going to... and I think that is healthy, right? Because you have to learn how to one day take care of your own home. Mm-hmm. But there were there was a couple whoopings. Not that I did not deserve them, but I will say they did go a little extreme. And you mentioned that you didn't always necessarily do them the right way. There is a right way, but that you didn't always necessarily do them the right way.
Because you shouldn't whoop when you're angry.
Yeah.
You have to have a time. And my husband is really good at that. Your dad, he's really good at that.
I don't know, because he beat me too, okay? Let me just say, he might wait. But I felt like he was still angry. Later on down the road. Okay.
So yeah, you're not supposed to whoop in anger. And that's I think where my biggest downfall was, like still being angry. But I think a lot of it was there was so much of you or me in you that I didn't want it to come out. The bad parts.
I will say to that very, very specifically, as a child, I think, and I've thought about it recently, what did I need the most from my mom? so that I can be that for my daughter. And I think to a certain degree, what I needed the most was for you to love yourself more. I needed you to accept yourself more because I would see you, and I'm a child, but I would see you beat yourself up so much and be so hard on yourself. And that's what would come out. And then you would see those negative parts of you in me. And that was what you kind of focused on instead of saying, well, let me see how amazing I am as a mom, as a wife, as just a human being, like as an individual. Like, what are all the good parts of me? And let me nurture those things in her and cultivate those things in her so that she'll love herself more. And I don't, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, because I tell people all the time, like my mom's like amazing, you know, and I don't know if you can see that all the time. But as a child, I think, as I've been just kind of processing through things recently, it's like, man, I wish I would have seen my mom love herself more. I saw you beat up on yourself so much. I saw you belittle yourself. You would talk down on your gifts and your talents and your dreams, and you would say the things, you know, that you were good at too, but I ended up hearing from you more negative things than I did positive at that time. So I guess the question would then be, why was it so hard for you? Is it just, were you overwhelmed? Like, was everything just kind of compounding, trying to be a mom, trying to be a new wife, trying to be an employee, like everything else? Was it that what was so stressful for you?
I think that I really wasn't taught love.
Yeah.
Or what love was, you know? I think my parents loved me. I don't doubt that at all. But I wasn't taught how to express it. They didn't know how to express it. And so for a long time, I didn't love myself. And I think it's because of what was instilled in me. Even becoming, pregnant so young, it was very hard. I heard the backlash from family members. One family member, an aunt in particular that I was really close to, our relationship became very estranged after getting pregnant. Because, she was, your fast-tailed and went out there and got pregnant, da-da-da-da. And that wasn't my intention when I left to go to the military. And I definitely wasn't intending to get pregnant by a married man. Like, I wasn't out there looking. I didn't even know he was married. Funny thing is, before I left to go to the military, my daddy told me something. That old man wise. He's very wise. He said, be careful when you go out there. There's going to be married men out there who don't wear their rings. He was absolutely correct. So, getting pregnant, having to go back home from the military, working, going to college, working full time, struggling financially, no help. I had assistance like, food stamps and Section 8 and, things like that to help float me. But I mean, really no physical help. And I did meet my family in Hattiesburg, which was a big help. They would watch you while I worked and, did things like that. I'm grateful for my family that I met in Hattiesburg. But I mean, like, it was just me. So I remember one year, it was your birthday. It was tough. And I worked at Walmart. I worked at student employment. I had a car note. I had rent, all the things. you always had the best clothes. I would walk around with holes in my shoes so that you could have the best. And it was your birthday. I didn't have a lot of money. I wanted to have a party. And I used to clean houses. I don't know if I ever told you this or not. Mm-hmm. And I cleaned houses, and I was cleaning the house for a pretty wealthy lady. And she had some bad kids. And I would have to clean her house while her bad kids was there. And they would come make messes after I would clean things. And I remember one day she gave me a toothbrush. And she wanted me to get down and scrub the grout with a toothbrush in her floors. And I wanted to walk out and say, I'm not degrading myself or belittling myself like that. But it was your birthday. And I had a party planned and I needed the money. So I remember sitting in that floor on my knees, scrubbing that floor with the toothbrush, crying. And I did it, and I got paid, and I had the party, and I quit. I never went back again. So it was hard being a single mom. I can't lie, and say that it wasn't hard. It got easier when I got saved. I got saved at 22 years old. You were almost 3 when I got saved. And I did it I always say, I did it for me and I did it for you. It's the best decision that I ever could have made. But because salvation is instant, but sanctification is a process. In the process of sanctification, I had to learn how to forgive myself and to forget the past and to move forward.
That's good. So when you are talking about the sanctification process, from a scale of 0 to 100, what number would you put it at where you are now?
Oh, me? Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm 99.9.
Oh, Jesus. That's up there in the sanctification process.
I even think that the name God gave me for the women's conference, A Woman's Worth, because I knew I didn't know my worth, and which is why I really like to pour into women now, because I know that for so long I struggled with my worth, my self-worth. But honey, I love me now. I love spending time with me. I love, doing things for me. And I want other women to learn how to love themselves in case they weren't taught growing up.
Yeah.
Or in case they feel like I used to feel.
Yeah, that's good. I would say the thing I saw you struggle with the most as far as loving yourself was physically. I could see, the emotional, the spiritual, and the times that you would wrestle with that. But physically, I think you still sometimes struggle with that.
You mean my appearance, my body, my weight loss? Oh, yeah, it's like a yo-yo. It's up and down. It has been, since childbirth ages. Actually, I was like that when I was younger. Having a body, even like you and your sisters have at a young age, I was always picked on. Yeah. Or talked about or lusted after. And so even I wish I could have the body I had. When I was young, Tremaine could tell you I'd lay in the bed and be like, I'm fat, I hate myself, and be crying. I wish I had that body that I had back then, because that body was like Teresa's body right now. Yeah. And with that body, I thought I was fat, but it was because of the things that people said. I didn't know how to love myself too, I think, because that was stripped from me as a child with the rape, the molestation, the sexual abuse. I didn't know, what my body was worth. And no, I don't like myself when I gain weight, but I love myself. So now, as I struggle with weight and losing weight, it's not even so much as the outward appearance. I told your dad the other day, I was like, I'm satisfied with the size I am. If I could just be healthy this size. If I wouldn't be so tired, if if I stayed a 14 for the rest of my life, I'd be okay with that. I'm not so much, it's not a physical thing for me as it used to be. But more so now, I'm more concerned about the health thing. I mean, when I think about it, I've probably lived more than half my life. Realistically, I'm about to be 50. So, my prayer, my desire is to make it to 100 or something. But realistically, that may or may not happen. Mm-hmm. So, in saying that, I'm more concerned now, not about the physical aesthetics or appearance, but health wise. Like, I want to enjoy my grandchildren. Mm-hmm. I love JC, but I want to see all of my grandchildren.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get to know and spend time with all of them. And so, in saying that, I'm more so concerned now about my physical, not because of the appearance, but because I want this body to continue to last until my assignment is up.
That's really good. The reason that I kind of asked about it was because I remember, and I've always been fairly skinny, right? But I realized when I was pregnant how weight conscious I was. There was a time where I had to talk to my husband, and I was like, hey, I feel like subconsciously I'm not eating on purpose because I don't want to gain weight because I'm so weight conscious. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't something at the forefront of my mind. It was just something that I started noticing because I would go long periods of time without eating. And I'm pregnant. I'm supposed to eat. But there was something in me that didn't want to gain weight. Even though I was pregnant, even though I knew that I should be gaining weight, I knew I was supposed to eat for the baby. I remember being younger and seeing people who would have like morning sickness, right? And they wouldn't gain weight for a long time. And I used to be like, oh, I want more. I learned my lesson. But I used to be like, I want morning sickness just so I don't gain a bunch of weight. And so the reason that I asked about it is because I don't think that weight consciousness is just because you may be like bigger in size. I think that it definitely affects us all. And because I didn't see you be accepting of yourself at any size. I remember going to McDonald's back when the pancakes actually tasted like pancakes. And y'all would tell me I couldn't put syrup on my pancakes and on my sausage.
Well, that was for health reasons.
Right. And I know that now, you know, especially growing up. And I am also becoming more health conscious and making sure, especially with the baby, that I'm trying to make better choices because I want her to be healthier as well, you know. But I became extremely aware of it when I became pregnant. And I was like, this is a real thing. I think I am afraid to gain weight. And I'm naturally skinny, but I was terrified to gain weight because I was terrified that I wouldn't love myself. And not to knock you because I think it's just, I think it's a part of society in general, like what it displays for women and what it says about us if we don't fit a certain cookie cutter mold. And it's changed because at one point I wanted to gain weight because that was the thing. Like I was too skinny. Mm-hmm. I didn't have enough curvature, but I say that to say it made me more aware even of my sisters. And it started making me wonder, like, how do they view themselves? Are they weight conscious? Are they always going to be on that cycle of losing weight, gaining weight, and struggling to love themselves as well? So now you said that you've come to a place of acceptance. And I love that. I love that for you. I'm so excited to see you like on your new actual health journey because I want to see you see all your kids and I want to have lots of more years with you. Um, and I'm grateful. I will say that I'm grateful. What would you say is the next step in your healing journey? I know you said that you're at 99.9% in the sanctification process.
Well, sanctification is one thing, healing is another thing.
Yeah.
Like really being sold out for God, really sanctification, set apart, separated for God. I love myself, yes, but I'm sold out, like there's no turning back. That's what I mean by 99.9.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. So what would you say is the next step on your healing journey to continue to grow and develop and to love yourself more and to heal old wounds and those types of things?
I would say that my next step is just continuing to be consistent in what I'm doing. It seems like it's always been a cycle, you know, of doing better and then regressing and doing better and then regressing. So just being completely committed and sold out and being open to change, learning, growing, That's why I'm constantly always pouring into myself, going to conferences, getting refilled, learning more so that I can heal more. The more you learn, the better you are.
Yeah.
And I think, too, that healing also takes place the more you talk about what you've done and where you've come from. And with me helping women and other women, it actually helps me to continue to heal.
In your mentorship process or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, today, for instance, I shared a little bit of my testimony at the Flow Brunch. And a lady came to me afterwards and she was in tears. And she said, "Thank you for sharing." And she says, "I want to be able to talk about my past the way you did." She said, I'm healing, but I'm not there. She said, the last time somebody shared our similar testimony, I had to get up and leave. I couldn't even stay in the building. She said, "So I just want to thank you." And I told her, "You need my book." And she said, "What's it about?" And I said, "The journey to finding my worth," which kind of relates to even our conversation today. I didn't know or value who I was. And she was like, "How much is it?" And I told her, and I said, "But if you don't have it, I'm going to sow it into you today." And so I gave her that book, and I hope that it brings healing.
Yeah, that's good. You you mentioned at the brunch, and you mentioned earlier in your testimony that you dealt with sexual assault, molestation, rape. Are you comfortable sharing a little bit about that process and that testimony and what that looked like for you?
Yeah. It's finally something that I can talk about and not cry. As a young child, I don't know how far back you want me to go, or
Whatever you want to share.
The first time it was a babysitter. I had a male babysitter, and that was the first time I was molested, and it was a continuous thing. He threatened, the life of my mom and my parents and what he would do, so I wouldn't tell anybody what happened. And so I held it in for years. And it went from that to another family relationship, a couple of family relationships, whether it was touching or fondling or just lustful looks or lustful comments, to a very long, drawn-out sexual abusive relationship, which I was able to forgive and heal and move on, from.
So, and we joke about it now. Would you say that's one of the reasons why you used to buy me clothes that was 2 sizes too big?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't want men looking at your body. As a young girl, I had a body, and you had a body. You know, you say you were skinny, but you had curves. You had hips, you had behind, you know, and I didn't want men looking at you. I never wanted anybody to violate my girls. I'm a little bit less hard on the other two, but I'm still very hard on them, even when it comes to what they're wearing, you know, and they don't understand now, but I know that one day that they will. So yeah, I didn't want people looking at you because I didn't want you to give them a reason to lust after you or to touch you, because really and truly and honestly, I probably had a place in my heart that wasn't healed. I know I did. Even when I first got married, having intercourse with my husband was hard because this was something that had been taken my entire life by people who really didn't love me or who didn't know how to love me. And I finally had this man who loved me. So I felt like, why do you want this too? Like, at one point in my life, I wanted that to just like go away. Like, I don't ever have to have this
You're
again.
gonna be celibate. Married and celibate.
Yeah, I didn't have to ever have that again. Now, of course, now I enjoy it, but that comes from healing. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, I did not want you to experience that. I mean, I don't know if you remember when you were young, I would always ask you and question you, has anybody ever touched you? Has anybody ever done this? Because I ain't play about that. Like, mm-mm. And so you didn't understand. But as a mother, I just wanted to protect you.
Yeah. That was good. Now, was that protection just from adults, from children, from everybody, anybody?
Oh, it was from any and everybody, which is another reason why I never let you all spend the night with people. I ain't trust people. And there are people, you know, that I'm close to who probably have been offended by that decision that we've made to not allow our children to spend the night. But because me and your dad both have suffered from a sexual assault, sexual abuse, it was something that we agreed on early on.
That's good.
And because I was exposed to sexual tendencies even as a kid with other kids in my family.
Yeah. I remember, and this is probably the first time I'm gonna ever share this publicly, but I remember, I literally don't know where it came from, but I think it's definitely something that's generational because I used to struggle with masturbation. I mean, probably for the better part of a decade, and literally don't know where it came from. It wasn't a show that I watched that showed me. It wasn't a person. I think it was something that the enemy just fought us with generationally. I think that is a part of it. Not to say, you know, like that you didn't do what you were supposed to do because you went above and beyond to make sure that I was protected. But I think the enemy will get creative when he's trying to ruin the imaginations of children and pervert them. Obviously, it's not something that I still struggle with. I remember personally, for me, going to church, when I was young, and I remember like being in the bathroom one day and the thought comes to me. I was like, Aisha, you're stronger than this. All you got to do is say, I don't want to do this anymore. Now, that's not everybody's testimony, okay? I know for some people it's harder than others. But for me, I was like, you're right. I'm better than this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I never struggled with it again. So I'm grateful, okay, that the Lord delivered me quickly and easily, because I know that it's more difficult for other people. I can remember driving to college, never had sex a day in my life, never experienced any of those things. And I'm driving the car and I can feel the sensations all over my body, and I feel as if I'm having sex, and I'm like, whoa, like, what is this? And at that point I knew that was a spiritual attack. And I would say that that's one of the moments in time where I really started to take my spiritual walk more seriously, because I'm like, the devil is not, he's not playing just to play, right? He is on the prowl, looking, searching for whom he may devour. And so I want to say that you did a phenomenal job. You did your job, but the enemy is cunning, and he is clever, and he is crafty, and he will put things in the imaginations of children. And so I think it is important to do what you did and just have those open, honest, vulnerable, sometimes awkward conversations.
Even like the videos I made you watch.
Completely block those out of my mind. I don't remember a single moment of them.
But it was necessary.
Yeah.
Or the question I'd ask you if it was starting to tingle.
Yeah. That's not the word you use. We're not going to say publicly what you used to say.
Oh, I know the word I used to say.
Yeah, we're not going to use that word. It's still gross.
It's the truth, though. Because I wanted to know where you were, where you're, I used to tell you things like, you're going to grow up and, it's going to be time. There's going to be a time to date. I don't believe in dating when you're in high school and middle school and all of that. And I would say, just like a little girl, you had to wear your hair up in ponytails, with bowerettes and bobos. And then I said, eventually you got to wear your hair in ponytails with the ponytails curly. And then you got to wear your hair, half of it up and half of it down. And then eventually you could wear all of your hair down. I said, it's a process. And I said, that's how it is when it comes to dating. It's going to come, but it's a process. You're not ready for it yet. But I wanted to know if your body was starting to send you signals to make you think that, you wanted to have sex, because I wanted to have those conversations with you.
Baby, let me tell you, I never told you the truth, okay? Not once. I did not tell you none of the truth. Not a single time. And I think it was just an awkward conversation. Like, why is my mama asking me these questions? I wish she would leave me alone. Why?
Because I knew that's God created our bodies, for that.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be attracted to men. You're going to want to, just like little boys, they start to erect at a young age. It just starts growing on its own.
Yep.
Well, girls start having feelings down there on their own without having to do anything. And so as a mother, I wanted to know that so that I could help guide you in that, so that you wouldn't turn to the masturbation, that you would know how to handle that.
Oh, at that point, it was already too late. I was almost out that thing by the end, okay? Because I started fairly young, okay? But I think for me, I wasn't ready to have those conversations with you. I think it had less to do with necessarily being ready to have them. I didn't always feel comfortable, or I guess the word I could use is safe, having those conversations.
You thought you was going to get a whooping?
Every single time. Because, there would be moments, and it's still moments today, okay? I'd be scared because one moment we're like buddy, we best friends, we're talking on the phone, having a conversation, and then the next minute it's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, and you switch, and you be like, I'm still your mom, and I'd be like, whoa, we was just best friends. Like, what's going on? Like, I'm confused.
What are you talking about?
But even in that moment, like, we would be like joking, laughing, having a conversation, and it would be like, maybe I said one word that triggered you and you would know, okay? It was like an immediate switch. And so there were moments where I didn't always feel comfortable having those conversations because I wasn't sure if you was going to flip your lid. Okay?
No, I was serious, wanting to know, not to be angry, but so that I could prepare you for those things that I knew were to come.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how strong lust is, even in our family.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that now. But back then, all I thought I was going to get in trouble.
No, if I'm having a conversation and I'm like, I need you to tell me. That's why we had to sometimes say, all right, you're not going to get in trouble for this.
That was never true, okay? Cool. Because in the whooping 2 weeks from now, y'all going to remember.
But you didn't get a whooping for it then.
I'm getting beat for this and that, okay? You just put the whoopings together. Remember you said you don't get whoopings all the time when you needed them, and then sometimes when you didn't deserve them, you get them for the stuff back then. Them was them back then whoopings. Where you be like, oh, you're not going to get in trouble for this.
And then you didn't get in trouble then.
Not then. But that didn't mean you didn't remember.
Girl.
I'm just saying. But I will say that, and we've had these conversations, you've preached about it, we've talked about it openly, that another thing that our family struggled with was anger.
Oh, yes.
And so I didn't always feel safe because I knew that was something that we struggled with, right? And then I think it was hard for me as a kid because you could blow up and get angry. But if I had a little attitude, if I felt some sort of way, I would get knocked out.
Because you was a kid.
Oh! Kids are going to grow up to be adults.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, make it make sense.
Okay, what you mean make it make sense?
You get to have an attitude, but I don't get to have one?
Because you was a kid. You know my philosophy. Mm-hmm. Parents tell kids what they're going to do, and they do it. I still believe that.
Yeah. But I think, so that, it goes almost kind of into gentle parenting, right? It's like you're raising many adults right now, and like you don't always know how to process through your emotions. And so I think some of the times, like, okay, then we ain't throwing no temper tantrums and throwing vases and stuff across the room, because that's where we draw the line, okay? We ain't breaking stuff. We're just not getting violent. But I wish at some points you would have said, like, what's bothering you? Or, like, helped me process through those emotions instead of just...
Well, at the time, I didn't even know what the emotions were.
Okay, that's fair.
At the time, I didn't even know what all the emotions were. The emotion that I knew, too, was anger.
That was it.
That's all I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't experience love. And I think I did pretty good at showing love.
Yeah.
I tell you, I love hard and I chastise hard. And that's how I am. You're right, you're right. You're going to get loved. You're wrong, you're wrong. But I didn't experience anything other than that. And, it was even... It was even like my family didn't display love. Like I said, you knew that they loved you, but they didn't display it. And they definitely display it. And they definitely didn't tell you.
Yeah.
So there were some things that I learned and that I missed and that I tried to do better on, with being present, with making memories, with being involved, being active. Like, you couldn't beat me being a parent that was there and active and involved in my kid's life. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that, but I made sure that I was that. So there were certain things that I did, but there were some emotions I just didn't know until I got to be an adult.
Yeah. How did you begin processing through and deciphering your own emotions so that you can help? Because I got 4 other siblings, okay? And the youngest of which is
10.
Yeah. So we pretty spread out. So how do you now process through those better so you can help them process through their emotions?
Well, I also learned that every child is different.
Yeah.
And so you have to treat children differently. And I also learned that you have to let people make their mistakes. I think one of the things that really helped me years ago, and I said it before, was freedom.
The class.
Yeah. Because, the one thing that it said was, and I didn't realize that I had a problem with control, but in that it said that you have to allow others to make their own decisions, even if they're detrimental to them. Mm-hmm. That was hard for me because I didn't want you to make bad decisions. Like, I didn't want you to, be a teen mom and struggle like I did, or I didn't want you to, dress lustfully, or, have men lusting after you, or to be, sexually violated. There were certain things that I didn't want you to experience. And because I didn't want you to experience it, I was probably too hard. You know what I'm saying? So now for them, I kind of give them room to make mistakes. Now, I've always tried to use things as teachable moments and opportunities. Now, I might have even been a little hard with them, not necessarily hard, but like harsh. Like, if somebody got murdered or somebody's boyfriend killed them. You know how I used to pull you to the side and show you the news articles and read all that stuff to you and explain
Traumatizing.
things to you? No, not traumatizing. I'm showing you what happens if you don't listen. I'm showing you what happens if you get yoked up with the wrong person. Or we go see a movie and the movie's bad, and I'm using that movie as a teachable moment. So I've learned to have more teachable moments than just reacting.
That's really good. So when you say that you realize like they all have different personalities, different ways that they act or react, you've kind of tailored that to your parenting style.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where at first I thought parent was just the parent. And it was just, this is how it is, and, military. And I think part of that probably is because, I grew up in a military household to begin with, and it was just cut and dry with the military. And that's how it was with my dad, And so I've learned, now, and I don't know, I try to do better. And I think that I am better. Y'all try to make it seem like you want me to be the old me when y'all be like, if that would have been me, I would have got. And I'm like,
Beat up in the eye.
and I'm like, but I'm not the same mom that I was at 19 that I am at almost 49. And I shouldn't be.
Agreed. Yeah, you've got 30 years of experience in there.
And initially, I had none.
Yeah.
I had not been with my own mom since I was like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And so, and my grandmother, she was like a mother, but she was still my grandmother. And my grandmother worked a lot.
Yeah.
So what I really learned was a good, strong work ethic.
You show that for sure.
I learned that from her. But the nurturing side, I didn't get, from anywhere. The, just instilling certain things I just didn't get from anywhere. So I had to learn on my own, like OJT,
Yeah.
on the job training, on the parenting training,
Yeah.
So I didn't know.
Yeah, I would say I have definitely seen the growth in you. I've seen that you're still growing, you're still developing, you're still learning. I love seeing you with our baby because y'all have the sweetest little relationship, even though she just be wanting me sometimes. But she loves to see your face on FaceTime.
Oh, yeah, she loves to see Granny's face now. She loves to hear my voice.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love being a grandmother.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest thing.
I would say you definitely instilled a strong work ethic, so much so when I got to college, I didn't want to do nothing. Okay, I wanted to be lazy. Like let me slow down. And you did a good job of showing us that you loved us. Now I can see it more than when I saw what I saw as a child. I think as a child, and this is just to potentially help other people, I think you displayed love. But as we grew and developed and learned, now I realize you may not have always been speaking my love language.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't even know what a love language was for a very long time until I studied it.
Yeah. And so I think for a while, you were trying to show love the way you wanted to receive love. As opposed to what I may or, have needed at that time. And so now I think you've definitely grown, developed, and you are doing better in that aspect. And I think that everybody's love languages change. When I was in your house, I had a completely different love language than when I'm in my own house. So,
yeah, mine has definitely changed. I mean, acts of service is still up there, but quality time is like my number one now.
And now mine is a little bit more acts of service. And so we just didn't flip-flop. It used to be physical touch.
I ain't never liked physical touch, and that's probably because of the trauma that I experienced. So that is like the last one on my list.
Which makes sense because I remember like distinctly at one point the Lord showed me why my love language was physical touch. I remember being at a service at Dominion Power when we was on the second floor.
That was a long time ago.
Long time ago. And that was the first time I felt like I caught the Holy Ghost. Okay? I am flailing around the building at this point in time. And I'm like coming off of this, what feels like a spiritual high. All the other mothers in the church hugging me as I'm like making my last lap around the building. Okay, I'm tired. Whoa, out. And everybody else was hugging me, and I went in to hug you, and you scolded me. You was like, why are you trying to hug me? You ought to be down there on your knees praying.
I don't even remember.
I remember. Which, I mean, I'm obviously am healed from that, but it was what the Lord showed me. Like, Aisha, this is why your love language is what it is. It was what you felt like you were lacking at that time. And when he showed it to me was when I began to heal. Mm-hmm. And that was when I didn't need it as much. And when I realized, like, oh, your love language is acts of service, as I started trying to show you love more, as I started trying to speak your love language, that's when acts of service, it used to be a 0. When I took the test, acts of service was a 0. But as I started trying to show you love more, it started climbing on my radar. So I think it's hilarious now that it's not even your top one no more.
Mm-mm. I told you that I feel like I've lived half my life.
Yeah.
Realistically. So.
Not quite. You said you're going to be 112.
I said 103.
103. Okay.
103. So, but, you know, if that doesn't happen, then I said realistically, I probably have already lived more than half my life.
Yeah.
And so with watching Granny decline, you know, and pass, it made me value life.
Yeah.
And time even more.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So quality time, I want it.
Yeah.
Mother-daughter teas, I want it. Mother-son dances, I want it.
I think that's good. I think that's definitely a vital part of, and y'all have talked about this before and preached about it, of having those family meetings. Like, hey, as a mom, like, this is what my love language is right now. And this is why it's my love language, because I watched Granny decline, and I realized how valuable and how precious time is, and how we don't have that much of it left. And so I think that could be a great part of a family meeting, for us, for anybody watching, for me to implement in the future, and then letting them take the test and talk about their love languages as well. So I think that's a potential good tidbit to take home.
And Teresa's is definitely physical touch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I've gotten better with it. And, you know, I've always hugged and kissed my kids, you know, and things like that, which I never got as a child. Mm-hmm. Never received any of that. Like, Granny, when she was at the end and had dementia and Alzheimer's, I would say, I love you. And she'd be like, mm-hmm. Like, she just remembered that wasn't something she said back. And I'm like, well, tell me you love me then. And, you know, I have videos right at the end. She was like, I love you, you know, but it was something I had to say. Tell me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't something that was just like automatic. Like, you know, when I see y'all or talk to y'all, I'm like, all right, love you. It wasn't.
Yeah. From the outside looking in, because I don't live in the house no more. Okay. Got my own house with my own husband. Praise God.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, praise him.
3 down, 2 to go.
Oh, well, she almost out.
Mm-hmm.
From the outside looking in, I think that their love languages are words of affirmation. So it might be worth taking the test just to see. Just sitting down, having the occasional conversation with them. I think they like words of affirmation.
Well, I'm sure that physical touch is right on up there with Teresa.
Yeah. Because
she's always the one, put your arms around me, hug me, you know. Mm-hmm. She always says it.
Yeah. Very well, maybe. That was really good. I want to, and we're going to have another part, but I want to close this out just kind of praying for all because it's Mother's Day, praying for all the moms out there, the mother-daughter relationships that may be estranged and that need healing. So, you ready? Mm-hmm. Ooh. Father, I thank you so much. Thank you for this conversation, for this moment of healing. I pray that you would go to the root of every hurt, every pain. I pray that you would allow this to permeate their minds, their souls, their spirits, that you would allow them to begin to heal, that the tears would be able to flow, that the conversations would be vulnerable and honest. And Father, even for those who aren't able to continue to have those conversations because one or the other has passed on to be with you, Father, I pray that you would still heal them, that you would take away the hurt and the pain, and that even if there's a scar, it brings only joy. It brings only good memories of what they have had and the positive things they are able to do. I thank you for it all now. And it's in Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I love you.
I love you too, baby. Love you first.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode. You've heard from us. Now we want to hear from you. I do prayer videos every single day. Comment your name and what you want me to pray for below, and follow me on any social platform at I'm Aisha Danielle so that you'll be able to see when your prayer video gets posted. Until next time, see you later.